of holding up a sign. Everybody here, if Ray holds that up, that means he can't hear us. So you have to be with our mics, you have to be quite close. Now, for the candidate line, what I'm using is a Jim Ogden glass case, and you've got one for each one of you. And when I finish, I'll drop mine off, and you can put yours on the mic. Anyway, welcome to Candidates Night. And my name's John Miller, and I've been asked to serve as your moderator. I'm assisted by Ray Dehart, who is our timer, and Jonathan and Myra Lewis, who will narrate questions. The questions, when you write them out, please give them to Lucille. Raise your hand or whatever. Lucille will pick them up, and she gets them over to the question sorters, question askers. I think everybody who's put this together, particularly Lucille, because she had to put all that stuff. Richard Lefevre. We have reporters tonight from the Sentinel, we have Lou Marcellus and Gracie Bland. From the YouTube TV, Goldendale TV, is Nancy Kuski. Okay, and then also Julian might be here. So, did we first start with the Pledge of Allegiance? Please stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As probably all of you know, this year's election is on August 2nd. We vote by mail-in. And the ballots went out today. A little bit about election rules. I've had a couple of questions. The primary election depends on the type of office and how many candidates. Most state and federal offices are partisan, requiring a party preference, and all of these offices appear on the primary ballot. The top two then go forward. Precinct committee officer candidates appear only on the primary ballot. They do not go onto the general ballot. And then in the office of the non-partisans, then a primary is held when there's 3 or more candidates on file. And in our case, as far as I know, Doug Miller is the only PUD commissioner and also the only one that will go onto the general and not onto a primary ballot. Pardon?
District court judges will be on the general.
And okay, she says the district court judges go straight to the general also.
Because there's not 3 people.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. We did not invite candidates for the U.S. Senate position, the Congressional District 4 House of Representatives, or for the Secretary of State. Otherwise, we'd have 34 potentially more candidates. We will have questions after each speaker, each set of speakers for a position. So each speaker will get 3 minutes, and then the other speaker or multiple speakers will get their 3 minutes. Then we'll have questions directed to one or all of the speakers, and those questions are supposed to be answered in 2 minutes, and that's how we'll wrap up. And then when we're done with the questions, why the candidates can have a 2-minute summary of something they might want to say that wasn't straight or understood by the questions or doesn't agree with their position. Okay. I do ask that everyone respect each candidate, and remember that we were taught when we were growing up that we could learn more by listening than we ever did chatting with a neighbor. So please hold the chatter down to 0. And I was given this to gavel if we hear chatter out there.
Cell phones.
Cell phones, I think everybody knows, keep them down. Turn them off or put them on buzz, whatever. Let's start our evening. And now I got to skip around because I got empty chairs here. Chris, would you like to be the first speaker up here, please? And bring this and you put it on the mic. Okay, that's a 30-second warning when the yellow goes up to the very edge. And that's, yeah.
Hello everybody out there, and thanks for welcoming me to the Goldendale Grange today. I'm really glad to be with you. My name is Chris Faison. I'm from White Salmon. I'm a family physician who's running for House of Representatives position number 2. I'm running as an independent. I'm running for 2 main reasons. Over the last several years, I feel like I've seen a real fall off in our political lives, in our discourse. You know, I see patients from many walks of life, both sides of the aisle. And I think if there's one thing that I've seen the most, I've seen a lot of fear. That's been something that's there all around. And the purpose of my campaign is, one, to see if we can have a better political conversation. I think there are personal and cultural changes, but also structural changes to how we do districts, how we do the voting process that are really important to that. And then I think the others are the issues themselves that are near and dear to my heart. As a family physician, I tend to see the world through a lens of community health, but that doesn't mean just what happens in the clinic. My partner, Tracy, ran 2 years ago, kind of took a leap of faith and ran for a similar position. You know, after seeing how much of what we do when we're taking care of our families and our friends is dependent on what happens outside the office, on having access to affordable medications, access to affordable nutrition, housing, things like having a healthy environment. So I'm really hoping to bring a lens of community health to a lot of what can sometimes feel like divisive problems, but I feel like aren't as divisive and not as far away from solutions as we allow them to be. I know we'll get more into specific issues, so I thought I would actually spend a moment on what I've heard called the small democracy project. How do we do the political process better? So redistricting just happened in our area, and that's really important for 2 reasons. One, for making sure that we each have a voice, and then 2, for not going to the extremes. Our current process is controlled by the political parties, such that they can make safe seats in which, if I'm in a Republican district, my job is to keep anybody from running to my right, and if I'm in a Democratic, from running to my left. We end up in this more extreme, toxic, poisonous place without a lot of room in the middle. I think the other part is on us, and I really hope to have a good conversation with everybody to lower the temperature, and I look forward to it. Thank you for having me.
Unfortunately, another candidate, Liz Halleck, has COVID, and she regrets, but she could not be here tonight. So next I'd like to introduce Gina McCabe. Gina. mouse cracker, sorry.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you for, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here. I love anything that's at home. I've been blessed to serve for since 2014, so about 8 years now. I'm very privileged and honored to be able to do that, to be your voice in Olympia. I want to thank Lucille and her team of amazing people that always work really hard before we just walk in the door and show up and all the work's done. So I'm really grateful for that and thankful for all of our community members who step up and serve. I'm a fifth generation Klickitat County girl. So this is my hometown. My family lives here. And I rely and live my life by faith, family, and my friends. I grew up, I went to Goldendale Middle School here. I went to Goldendale High School here. I graduated from Clerk College with an associate degree in political science and then went to University of Washington and graduated with a bachelor's in political science and pre-law. And then I decided that I was going to run the family hotel. So now I have a certified hotel administrator degree from the American Institute of Hospitality. And that helps make sure that we run small businesses and keep the ability for small businesses to stay in communities, which I call the heartbeat of our communities. We don't want to live in the city. We love it here, and so we're doing everything we can to keep the services we need here and support those businesses at all times. And then I was given a scholarship in 2018 to attend Harvard University School of Government, and I can't tell you how much I learned there. I didn't agree on most of the philosophy, but I did learn. I got to see with a different lens, different policy issues. And it was great being somewhere that 8 presidents were graduated from. So that was great. You know, why am I running? Again, I think I'm called by my faith to do this job. I prayed about what I should do in my life and it said go fix things at the Capitol that I didn't even know existed. I had no idea that there were missing, murdered Indigenous women. We passed 3 bills on that so far. And that's something that I prayed about and said, was told to go fix it. We passed bills on yes vets, making sure veterans get jobs. And this session, we finally passed a bill so that if you're a veteran serving overseas, you were getting a ballot, but you weren't getting a voter's guide. So now you are. So that was a fun bill to pass. I deputy caucus chair in leadership. I serve as ranking member in public safety, which was a big learning curve, I'll have to admit. And then also serve as ranking in labor and also on capital budget. I'm here to serve, happy to be here, happy to answer questions. Thank you, Chris, for running this election. Very grateful when anyone joins in the political process, which is what you're doing tonight, so thank you as well.
All right, am I on here? Can everybody hear?
Yes.
All right. Very good. Well, this is a challenge over here. When John asked me to do this, I had no idea how difficult it would be to sort out all these questions and kind of decide on the one that was most appropriate and easiest to get across. So if you don't hear your question asked, please don't shoot the messenger. So I'm going to ask this same question to both of you. It says, with the state's carbon action plan staring us down the barrel, how would you address clean energy issues as they relate to and impact residents of Klickitat County? Why don't we go with the last first? Chris.
It is very strange.
He's a doctor.
My mom says I'm a little bit of a mumbler, so if anybody needs me to crank up the volume here in the back.
Okay.
So would you repeat the question one more time, please?
Yeah, it had to do with,
It had to do with the state's clean energy action plan and how that might relate to Klickitat County, the green energy stuff here.
So creating a plan for clean and renewable energy is something that is really important to us as a community, us as a country, us as a planet. it's less something about what's in my lifetime. I guess it is about my lifetime, but I've got 3 kids at home. This is something we're really investing forward in the generations that will be coming. So I think there's no doubt that we have to figure out, and we are doing, ways to really address this. Washington State is a leading producer and innovator in green energy and renewable energy. And because we're a leading producer, we can also lead the charge on building grid, building infrastructure, building storage. But the way to do this really sustainably is to do it while hearing local concerns. Those can be cosmetic concerns, they can be environmental concerns, they can be concerns from indigenous tribes about artifacts. So I think everyone needs a seat at the table, and I don't think this is an either or. I think it's about people feeling both the short-term and the long-term benefits of having good, new, well-paying tech jobs here, but feeling like they've got a voice in the process. That's all I got.
Thank you for the question. And I think all of us want clean air. At the end of the day, everybody wants to breathe clean air, and we want our generations, the next generations coming up, to also have clean air and clean energy available to us. It's very expensive, and it's intermittent. And so those are the 2 reasons that this last session, I ran a bill, House Bill 1623, which was my 27th bill, and first one that ever got vetoed by the governor. So the bill simply said, as the state of Washington moves green, which I think we should move green, we should always look for new innovation and new science and new ways to do things better, to do things cheaper, which we're not there yet with green energy, I don't think, but to make sure that we do things for the next generation. But it said, as we transition the state of Washington to green, we have to have a plan in place that keeps adequate energy grid solid. And if you look at Texas, and if you look at California, and you look at Washington, you're having brownouts and blackouts. So 147 members in the House and Senate voted yes. I had the Democrat chair of the Energy Committee co-sponsor the bill, and 1623 was vetoed. So all it did was simply ask that we have the conversations, and we keep having conversations to make sure that that grid is stable so we don't see brownouts and blackouts. So that's how it affects us here. I do think that we should have alternative energy sources. Intermittent energy sources are not reliable, and so we have to keep that conversation going. So that's, thank you.
Do you have another question? We have time for another. And there's seats up here in front, folks. There's 10 empty seats in the front row if you'd like to come up and sit.
Okay, this one is for Chris, but if there's time, we could do it for both of them. What structural changes would you suggest? And what problem does this address, and how does it provide a solution? Structural changes. Seating arrangements.
I'm never going to get used to this. Thank you for bearing with me. So what structural changes would you address? How we draw districts is what determines whether our vote counts. And currently the way Washington State does it, to the best of my ability to understand, and someone can correct me, is it's still governed by the parties. It's not just the party in power controls the whole thing and can run the table, but they select the people that draw the districts. And so what you usually see is you see a lot of horse trading. You see a lot of creation of safe seats on both sides. And so what that means is they go out of their way to make our districts not competitive, to where each of our voices don't really count. And in addition, what those safe seats do is whoever is running does not have to appeal to the general public, does not have to meet our needs. This is what causes some of that push to extremism on both sides. They just have to make sure that you win your primary. You don't have to think about the general. So that's, I think, the first thing I would do. The second thing that I would do is we are in District 14 and we have 2 different at-large positions. To me, that's crazy. And because what it does is it really dilutes the vote of the people within the district. In most districts, what happens is you have one person, one district. I would have a smaller district that would be easier to travel to, easier to run in. It would make things more local and more local control. There was a Supreme Court case in 1986 where they said these multi-member districts tend to dilute underrepresented people. Like specifically in our case, Latino voters, Yakama Nation. So that would be my second structural change I propose is smaller districts so that we get to know and are part of our constituents' community. Thanks.
Yeah, I want to maybe try something a little different. Think that'd be okay?
Yeah.
Doctor, would that be okay?
As far as the question structural, does that mean politically or does it mean what we would change in Washington State? I wish I knew who asked that because I've asked that question before and it was what's the most challenging things in Washington State? So I can stay with politics or I can do this one, but I think that the reason that we have larger districts is because we divide out the state. We take the amount of population and we say we need 147,000 people in approximately in so many districts. So that's why we're not able to do small and large ones. That's why I get to see windsurfers and kiteboarders in the Columbia River Gorge. Then I get to drive all the way to the far side of Yakima, but I get to see wild horses running over the reservation. So it's just the way it is. So, but I would like to say some of the most pressing issues before the legislature is public safety. And as ranking member on that committee, we've got to figure that out. We went so far in police reform that we took some bad police officers, which should be accountable 100% to the law. Whatever they did, they need to be accountable just like each of us. But we blanketed the entire state in a structure that made it so that law enforcement couldn't do their job. We literally took the handcuffs off the criminal and we put them on law enforcement. And we made them unable to help somebody who was standing on a bridge about to jump off an overpass. We couldn't put our hands on them because it was called use of force. So we had to change that, and we've been changing things along the way. We were able to fix most of that this last session, but we did not fix vehicular pursuit. And you may hear about that from the sheriffs who are running today to talk about that a little bit, but we have to do everything we can and have a better system so that our communities are safe, because whether it's energy or whether it's education or crime or healthcare, it's really not partisan at the end of the day. And if we're not safe, nothing we do matters. If we're not safe in our house, nothing matters. So that's the biggest structure thing I think that we're facing today.
Okay, now our procedure is Gina would have a wrap-up if you wanted to clarify anything, or you can pass.
Well, thank you for that. I don't really have a wrap-up. I really do appreciate Chris running. I think that, again, being part of the political process is something we all have to do. I feel like it should be required on some level to be part of your community, to be part of politics, to pay attention, because everything we do governs you, and you do need a voice. So I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to serve the last 8 years. Willing to fight another term. I take it day by day. It's very difficult up there. It's as Chris said, we're more polarized and divided than we've ever been since I've been there. And it's really sad. It makes me sad because the next generation is really struggling. And we have to figure out how to come together, just like tonight, Democrat, Republican, Independent, and to try to fix things. Because if we just hear each other, not just listen to listen, but actually listen to hear, that's where the answers are. So thank you so much for allowing me to serve.
I promise I use these at work sometime. Thanks for letting me be with y'all tonight. I echo Gina's sentiments. Thanks for being such a great person to run with. She's been really generous with her time, has taken the time to talk to a newbie like me. And I think we really would like to make this a real conversation and hope to show that in our race together. I think my final thoughts would still go back to some of the structural changes we're talking about, some of the redistricting side of things. And I may get old really quick talking about this, but it means something to me. So in our most recent redistricting, the commission who's doing it, who is partisan, didn't get it finished on time, finished it behind closed doors, voted on it without the public being able to see the maps. They each got fined on that. They're currently in lawsuit with multiple of our districts. So there is a much better way to do this. And there are other states to look at who have fully independent commissions. So it's not the horse trading. They have more competitive districts that keep cities and communities kind of intact rather than dumping out pockets of individual things. So I look forward to being part of this process. Thanks for the warm welcome, everybody.
Okay, next I'd like to introduce somebody who's new to the team, the county team as far as management, Billy Jean Bear. Would you like to speak?
Sure.
You can speak right from there if you want.
Yeah, I got a good voice, I think, so everybody can hear. My name is Billy Jean Bear, and I am running for Clinton County Assessor. I'm unopposed, and I grew up in Clinton County on a ranch where I learned hard work really means something. At the end of the day, a good day's work is something. So I was hired by our current assessor, Krista Schroeder, 6 years ago as an appraiser in the field. And I was promoted to senior appraiser, and now I'm the current chief appraiser, where I facilitate all the property valuations for that eventually Greg sends you your tax bill on. My main focus is just to be have the office be trustworthy and transparent, and that we have a seamless transition from Krista to myself, where public service is not interrupted at all. And I just appreciate your vote anyway, even though I am unopposed, but I look forward to a really good year, 4 years ahead, and I'm just grateful for the invitation tonight and allowed to speak. So thank you.
Next position, we move to the county office, the other county officer, just Heather Joe.
It's great to see so many faces. It's good to see so many people interested in the process. As somebody who works in elections, this is heartwarming because we do believe that people count and votes count. So, my name is Heather Joby. I am the current Chief Deputy Auditor for the Auditor's Office. I've been with the Auditor's Office for 6 years and had the privilege of learning under a remarkable county auditor who's retiring at the end of the year after 46 years worth of service in elections. So I grew up mostly in Hawaii. My parents were in the military, so we did do some traveling. But one of the things that I took away from growing up in Hawaii is community and how important community is. And my husband has ties to Clinton County. He's got several generations spread over a lot of the grave sites here in Clinton County. So when we decided to have children, we decided to move to a place with a smaller community and the same sort of community values that we share. So about 10 years ago, we moved to Goldendale full-time, and I've been active in the community for most of that time between Awana and CASA and soccer and Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. And so we are truly committed to this community. I do have a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. My major was Public Admin, which is basically governmental management. And yeah, I encourage you all to talk to the candidates, to read the voters pamphlet. We believe that educated voters, informed voters are a good thing. So please take that time and ask questions.
Okay, Joanne, in your chambers.
Hello there. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here. My name is Joanne in your chambers. I grew up on a 4th-generation in your family farm south of town. A lot of time in the dirt. Oh, sorry. I'm kind of loud even without the mic. So, I am a wife and a mother and a grandmother. I have 30 years experience with forensic, investigative, and bank auditing. I have 28 years law enforcement experience, and I have been a certified fraud examiner for over 20 years. I also have a bachelor's degree in accounting. This experience has led me to many directions in investigations, criminal, regulatory, all the people around, any business around has their regulation, has their information that they have to complete. The compliance with regulation is so big. And a lot of times it can be complicated and people just need assistance in understanding it. Most of the time I found people didn't intentionally violate. I'm always available to chat with anybody. As people know me, I'm pretty social, so you can always come by. And I'm also a kind of a fix-it, get-her-done kind of person, so when anybody tells me anything, I'm always looking for a better way of doing things. And I kind of got that from my dad, because he was always looking for a better way of doing something. My goal is to lead a friendly and efficient auditor team. I look at the office as a team, because you can't do it by yourself. Also, I would like to streamline processes and cross-train staff in order to make sure that people, customers are helped in a quick manner, efficient manner. People should leave with a smile on their face. It shouldn't be a difficult experience to go in and get business done. It's not like anybody goes there for fun. So I do believe that there's probably, that's what my concerns are, because that's what people have told me that their concerns are. So again, my goal is to have friendly and efficient for both staff and customers. I feel that everybody would be with a smile on both sides of the counter. I do believe that the election process is probably the most important part of the auditor position, because it is the auditor's job to make sure that they are documenting that the process is followed. It's a good process. Make sure it's followed. Make sure it's documented that it's followed, because we need to make sure that our constituents are happy, and with the voting process, that is their voice. That is the only public voice, and so it needs to be handled properly. Not that I'm hearing anything other than that, but that I do believe is probably priority for the elections. Thank you very much.
In order to minimize the wiping, let's just stick with Joanne on this next one.
Are you tired of it already?
No, I'm just afraid we'll run out of wipes. Okay, so this one is jumping right into the middle of it, I think,
okay.
Or something, jumping into something. Please tell us about your thoughts on the 2020 election, and I'm assuming that it's the federal election deal. And then, how would you ensure that elections are secure in Clerk County?
Okay, my biggest concern with the 2020 election overall is that I hear a lot of unanswered questions. We have a very good process that has been in position for hundreds of years on elections. We have checks and balances to make sure that there are no questions or that there are answers when questions are asked. And I do think questions are important. I think the customers, the citizens, have a right to ask questions. So I don't think questions are a bad thing. My biggest concern is I feel that a lot of times people think that it's okay to not answer the customers or the citizens' questions. And I like it to be transparent, so I want everybody should know, here is the process, here is what we follow, here is how we make sure that everything is being followed and there are no ending processes that were not followed. And that concerns me. I can't say that I'm in the middle of the no, because I am not in a position to know exactly. I just, on the 2020 election, my concerns are, as I'm hearing a lot of questions not being answered. And I'd like to know the answers. And I believe that a lot of people are frustrated and would like to know the answers as well. And when it comes to Klickitat County, again, there are processes. So the biggest thing is as an auditor, and I'm an annoying auditor for many years, so we go in and we ask questions. And the biggest thing with auditors is documentation, documentation. Here, I'm not making up the process. I'm simply making sure that it is followed and documenting how it's followed. Mainly so that questions can be answered. And I think that is important to have answers for the questions. So,
As a follow-up to that, again, with the wipes in mind, I'll just follow up with one more question.
Okay.
Express your opinion on personal walk-in, old-school voting versus mail-in.
I personally like the old school voting. And I say that, okay, as a certified fraud examiner, I've been at countless classes on basically how to commit fraud. And it's not that hard. People can easily go on computers. They can actually, and I have worked with the Secret Service, they say with the printers and with the electronics today that the bad guys, the counterfeiters, can actually create a better bill than even the U.S. Treasury. So it's not that hard to defraud. So, and along that lines, I have learned that the more, the easier you make it for people to do things, the easier it is to defraud. So I believe that we need to completely flush, and personally, I believe we need to completely flush the voter registry and start again. I think that we have computers, we have everything we need, but clearly it's tainted. So let's just clean it up by starting fresh, and everybody should have to. I do believe that it is a citizen's right to vote, and it's a citizen's privilege to vote. And that's a good thing about being a citizen. So that's what I would like to go back to, even though I really probably don't have that big a say.
Thank you.
But thank you.
Heather, same questions to you. Thoughts on 2020 election? Same questions.
With regard to the 2020 election, I can't speak to nationwide. I don't have any experience in performing election operations outside of the state of Washington. I can tell you in the state of Washington, and most specifically in Klickitat County, our elections are secure. There are policies and procedures set by the state that absolutely secure ballot production, ballot scanning, the vote tabulation. Your elections are safe.
The other one was on mail-in versus old school.
As a voter, I like old school. I like the event of going and voting and being part of the process. As somebody who works in elections and processing, the efficiency that is allowed by mail-in ballots is incredible. It just allows us to process things timely, efficiently, and securely.
That's it.
Okay, if there's a wrap-up that you want to say, or you want to leave that?
Sure. This isn't specifically about my race, but it's about all races. This isn't a popularity contest. It's really about who has the knowledge and the skills and the integrity to do the job, and that is the best candidate to serve the citizens of Clickitat County. And that's not a birthright, and it doesn't come through the blood. So I do encourage you to read the voters' pamphlet, to talk to all of the candidates, and to make an informed decision.
On closing, I would just like to say again, thank you for coming tonight and allowing me to run. And to actually getting a lot of people backing me, and I do appreciate that. I do have a lot of family here. I do have a lot of friends here. But what makes me a good candidate is my history, my work ethic, and the fact that my experience, what I've been through, what I've learned, and I'm a little bit ornery. So that kind of helps get a job done. I'm a get-her-done kind of person. I'm not a politician per se. In fact, I've always kind of hated politics. Even in law enforcement, I pretty much said that it makes everybody's job more difficult, because I kind of believe that everybody has the same laws and everybody has the same rules, and why don't we just all follow them? But I guess that was simplifying things. But that is, in closing, I would love to be your next auditor. And again, I have some concerns that I would like, I'd like to kind of straighten out and to streamline. And I will work for you, the Clickitat County citizens. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on is Renee, County Clerk.
Hello, I'm Renee Campbell, and I've had the honor of serving as your county clerk for the last 9 years. Before I talk about my accomplishments in the clerk's office, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and the journey as to how I became and had a career in the Clickitat County court systems. First off, my husband Bill and I were both raised here in Clickitat County, have lived in Goldendale for over 40 years, where we raised our 2 children. We both have been very active in our community, 4-H leaders. My husband was involved in JCs, used to put on the demolition derby, the bull bash, and it was kind of a family event. We all was out there helping, along with all the rest of the JCs. And so, moving forward, in 4-H, we still have 4-H archery that goes on at our home. And for myself, I have been actively involved in the fair for many years. I'm currently the food preservation superintendent, and have been doing that for the last 12 years. I'm a member of the Grange here, and I've been on the scholarship committee for the last several years. I went to college at Walla Walla, received my AA degree from Walla Walla. I was on the volleyball team, also on the rodeo team. And from there, when I graduated, I started working at East District Court. I was there for 24 years. 18 of those, I was the court administrator, managing the day-to-day operations of the court. I took a non-attorney judicial examination, moved into the position of a court commissioner, while still doing my court administrator job. So in the absence of the judge, what that means is I would preside over matters that such as in-custody defendants that needed to come before the court within 24 hours, making a determination as to whether or not they should be released on bail or their own recognizance, and those determinations were based on their criminal history. So from there, I moved into the clerk's office, and as your county clerk, I have been physically responsible. I've streamlined office processes and have kept the office moving forward with technology. Some of the things that have happened during my tenure, I have had the honor of serving on the Public Trust and Confidence Committee and the Court Recovery Task Force. I have just almost got done moving the process of my documents to digital archives, where you'll be able to access those documents from home. I am going to have electronic filing so that you can file your documents electronically, and all of those things. And I'm out of time, and I will take the opportunity to wrap up in my closing.
My name is Shelby McCurran. I have lived in Clickitat County since 2005 when my family moved out here from Portland. So I grew up going to Centerville for all of my middle school, graduated from Goldendale High School in 2012, and then I also took the opportunity to spend my junior year abroad in Japan, which left me as the first Goldendale High School foreign exchange student to leave from the community and go out to another country for a year. After I came back, I applied and was accepted to Harding University in Arkansas. And I went and spent 4 years there getting my communication studies degree, in which I participated in numerous collegiate events that involved activities organization, budgetary committees that I was a part of, and other types of National Honor Society activities where I went to school. Afterwards, I graduated in 2016, and I went to the banking industry for a couple of years before I finally migrated my way back to Clickitat County. And in 2018, I started my career as a deputy clerk under Renee. And for the 2.5 years that I got to work there, I found a career that plays perfectly to my talents and to my skills, and it is a career that I have fallen in love with the justice system. I am very excited that I got to be a part of it, and that I got to have a hand in learning the courtroom etiquette and processes, understanding the diligence that goes on in the record keeping and in the courtroom records that you have to process daily. It's been a very exciting time to go through and learn all of these new skills and understand how it affects everybody in our day-to-day society. The clerk's office isn't something that you see as important until you have to go into it. And once you go into it, it's a confusing process because you learn there are a lot of rules and things that people can't tell you. They can't give you the answers. You have to find an attorney. You have to do a lot of research online. And it's very complicated when there are legal bindings in which you can and can't say to all the people that come through your office. And I really aim to, if I were to become clerk, making those things more available to people, looking for and finding the resources and the means in order to get those resources out to people so that coming through the court process is less confusing and less challenging for everybody. We are moving forward into a digital age, and it's a fantastic thing that it's coming to Clickitat County. Our county, unfortunately, is one of the last ones to go ahead with e-filing because of a state mandate that determined all counties must proceed with e-filing. It is hopefully going to be completed by the end of the summer. There are a lot of other things we could be doing to provide all of those records access, which Renee is working on to get that with the citizens' records. I look forward to being able to get to know all of you better and talking more with you about what my skills are for learning this position and how I can see making the office a better place.
This question is for you, and I didn't get many questions on this role, so we just have one each. Should you be elected to the county clerk position, what significant changes would you make to this office?
So the three biggest issues that I feel are facing the county clerk's office are implementing the functional and clear electronic filing process, which is being done at this time. I fear how it was driven by the state need to put out a rule that says all counties must proceed with this instead of becoming a bit more proactive about it when other counties have been proceeding with e-filing for quite a few years now. I think that the county clerk needs to be more proactive in seeking out the trends and best practices in the current trends and looking at the landscape and the foreseeable problems that could arise for their constituents and planning for them as best as possible. Excuse me. Sorry, there's a bug up here, I apologize. I was trying to kill it discreetly.
About your environmental impact statement.
I want to engage with the public to provide the information and resources to investigate and provide our community with unfettered access to our court system. One of the things I feel that people come into the court system and they should always feel equal. Everybody needs to come through and feel as though that they have equal access and opportunities to everything that's occurring in the court system. Nobody should come through and feel that because they are a Republican or a Democrat or someone who's of a higher social status, economic status, or a lower one, no one should come through there feeling that somehow they're at a disadvantage to everyone that they go through. Attorneys get the same opportunities as everyone else that comes through the court system, and I want to ensure that those practices are followed for everybody.
Thank you. Renee, what is your favorite thing about being county clerk? Tell us a story about how you have made a difference in someone's life.
Boy, that's kind of a tough question. You know, I have gone through life always having a positive attitude, and as many of you know, I have overcome a lot of diversity in my life, and I've always met those challenges head on, and with everything that I've done in my life, especially after I lost my arm, you have to think outside of the box. You have to find other ways to do things, such as asking for help when you need your mic wiped down. And so oftentimes, you know, children will come into the office and they'll look at me, and I always take the opportunity to share my story as to what happened, and then explain to them that when your mom or your dad or your grandparents tell you need to be careful around machinery, you need to listen to them. And you know, parents are always thanking me for that. But you know, I have a really great crew at my office, and customer service has excelled, and they are doing an outstanding job. And I think, you know, just making good decisions and being positive as a role model is the most important thing you can do.
Okay, 2 minutes, please.
I would like to talk about the electronic filing system, and it actually has not been mandated yet by the state. It was discussed last year as being mandated, and the thing that is going to be required for us to accept electronic filing of domestic violence civil protection orders by January 2023. So I will be complying with that. There are 22 counties that went with the state document management system, and it's called Odyssey. The state cannot get document management system up and running with electronic filing. So not every county clerk's offices has electronic filing. There is about half of them who are using systems to file their documents. They're expensive. I looked into one that was going to cost the county $36,000, and what I'm currently doing right now is we're going to be building our own in-house system. Some of the county clerks were using a system that was through ImageX, and on April 5th, and we also use that system to supply, fill the orders for our documents. And on April 5th, I got an email that said they were no longer going to be in business, and were closing their doors on April 10th. Several county clerks were using that system for their documents, and that system went out of business, and so they're now having to look for more expensive electronic filing system. So the process isn't as easy as it sounds, and it is not mandated yet, only that one piece of it for the protection orders. And I have been very proud to be your clerk, and it's I have the skills and experience necessary to continue leading this office for the next 4 years.
I left the county clerk's office in 2020 when there was an opportunity for me to go ahead and expand my skill set, and I transferred over to the county IT department. And that's where I've been since there, learning about the back-end processes and learning everything you could about our county network and how it runs and how we support everybody, all 350 people that we work with day to day and keeping our system running. Those skills have transferred into quite the learning curve. Bringing on things like learning how to run the county budget for the IT department, learning how to set that up, how to process all the day-to-day invoices, and the different programs, and seeing the potential and how they can be used in other departments. And I think those bring the skills to me, including all of my previous experience with working with different communities, with different cultural groups, with working with community groups of all sizes throughout the different industries that I've been a part of, to work with the clerk's office in order to provide a office that is focused on being a public servant for its community and working to make sure that we maintain good relationships with all of the other agencies that work with the clerk's office. I never left the legal system. I have worked as an independent contractor for an attorney up in Bellevue since the summer of 2020. I got to continue on, and I've been working under her for the last almost 2 years now. And been a part of the legislative changes that have occurred and worked directly with the documents and those processes, how they go through the court system, how they work, how to work with those people and getting those forms and walking them through the processes of complicated matters. And I'd love to be able to bring those things over to the clerk's office and make it a very special place for every person that has to come through there. Instead of the complex and frightening office, it can feel like the first time someone has to go through there.
Okay, we move to a fourplex, I guess we call it. Let's start with Matt, please. This is for the county commissioner's position.
Hello, everybody. Get the mic figured out here. My name is Matt Malt. I am running for Clickitat County Commissioner, District 2. Most of you that know me in this town know me as the horseshoer. Been doing that for 22 years since I moved here. I've got a little bit different past prior to being here. When I was 18 years old, I started a company, Warren Industries. Started right on their assembly line, making $4.50 an hour. I went to night school, figured out how to better myself, worked my way through the company. I ended up in international sales. I did that for 10 years with several skill sets that I learned. One of the most important was negotiation skills. I was over there, I would work overseas with the car manufacturers, and I would bring our engineering staff, work with their engineering staff, come up with an amicable solution for both parties. I also did a lot of product negotiations. And people ask, well, how does this apply to the commissioner's position? Well, in this county, there are a lot of people that don't see eye to eye. And if you've got negotiation skills, if you've got some decent negotiation skills, maybe you can bring different parties together to work together to come up with a solution that will help everybody in the county. After that, I actually got promoted further into a national accounts manager. In that position, I was in charge of a small staff of people in multi-million-dollar accounts, learning how to budget and dealing with people. Okay, that was, after 20 years of that, I was fully vested. And at that point, I was able to, basically semi-retire, follow my dream. I grew up on a farm when I was a little kid. I always wanted to be on a small farm in rural America where I could have my own business, raise my kids. That's what Klickitat County gave to me. I moved here in 2000 and bought a farm, started a horseshoeing business, and became part of the county. Moving here, I did not want to come in and change the county. I wanted to simply assimilate. Some of the things I've done in this county with the county fair, my wife and I have been volunteers there. I started wrestling, or I was a wrestling coach at the high school. I'm sorry, I have to talk fast because I'm out of time. Wrestling coach at the high school. I had a weightlifting program I did for kids. I started a youth program for kids. And as I guess I'm out of time and I'll wrap up at the end.
Rick?
Hi, I'm Rick Isaacson. I'm running for County Commissioner. One of the things I learned early on is public speaking is not my strong suit, so I'll try to keep this short for you. I'll tell you a little about myself. My dad always tells the story that growing up, that all I wanted to be was John Wayne. When I was a little kid, I dressed up as John Wayne for kindergarten, and he had explained to me, that's not going to happen. So I decided I wanted to be a police officer. Through trial and error, that didn't come to fortitude. So I worked at CenturyLink for a long time, and that job was outsourced. And I had the opportunity to go back to school. I got into the medical field and was able to get a certificate in medical assisting and to continue working on found my degree and got an associate's. I was 3 classes away from finishing all my prerequisites to go to physician's assistant school. And between talking to my wife and just thinking, thought I'm missing out on something. I want to get back in public service. So I completely changed what I was doing, went back for justice studies, and following my job to become a police officer. Which, if I'm not too old when I finish, that's what I'm going to do. And that made me start to think, what am I missing out on? And that's what I wanted to do as a county commissioner. When I look at that, I'm just a regular guy. I'm definitely not a politician. So what I'm looking for in the county commissioner is just to be wide open. I want everybody to feel free to walk up right to me. Know that I'm not going to promise a lot, but just to know that whenever there is a problem, I will do everything that I can to fix the problem before moving on. So I know I'm not going to make the entire 3 minutes, but that's what I had to say, and I thank you guys.
Everybody, I'm William J. Morris. I'm running for Klickitat County Commissioner District 2. I was born here in Goldendale, Washington. I was raised in Sundale, which is the east rim of Rock Creek, across from Goodnoe Hills. I went to primary school and grade school in the 3-room schoolhouse in Roosevelt. First in the old one, and then in the new one after John Daytown was finished. I got to see the start and completion of SR 14. Didn't exist. Old Highway 8 ran in front of the house, and it used to be a rock road. I also attended Goldendale High School. When I left high school, there were no jobs in Klickitat County, and so I went to the U.S. Navy, and I was trained in cutting-edge, top-secret technology by the U.S. Navy, and a good program they had. And so I feel very fortunate about that, because every job I've ever had, I took every shred of advantage of being trained on systems and how things work. I have a very lengthy 46-year career in business and in government. I've managed teams of in excess of 300 people on a statewide basis in Florida for Zola.com. I've managed $2.5 million 1980 budgets that were my departmental budget, and that equates to $8.89 billion today, which is almost what the county budget, just under what the county budget is right now, and I was doing that in 1980. Currently, I'm an elected Dallas-Fort Water District Commissioner. I've also served as an appointed and elected Klickitat County Fire District 6 Commissioner, and I am an IOOF Alamus Lodge Oddfellows Trustee Director member. I am also a Trustee Director and member of the Mountain View Cemetery Association that takes care of the Goldendale Cemetery up here on the hill. My family has always believed in community service and reaching out to our neighbors. And Gina can actually speak to that because she knows my mom through one of those things. My first family member that came to this area came on horseback alone along the Lewis and Clark Trail in 1831. The next wave came in 1850 during the Great Migration when this was British territory. I'm running for this office because I have the qualifications, the background, and the knowledge to hit the ground running from the first minute. I am here to work for you, the voting, tax-paying citizens of this county. I've been on the campaign trail and I've heard it all. And I'll get back to that later.
Sure I didn't turn it off. And we go to the glasses now, so I give away my age. Thank you everybody who expended time and energy to put this together tonight. Can you hear me back there? No? Still more? How's that? Good? Okay. My name is Zola, and I'm running for District 2 County Commissioner with the endorsement of David Sauter, who's retiring from that position. By the number of people here tonight, it tells me that people love our county and they care about our future. So I thank everybody for spending time away from their homes this evening to participate in something that's very important, and that's informed voting. Like you, I'm a mother, a grandmother, a small business owner for over 38 years, and I have a vested interest in our school and healthcare system because of that. I support our state and federal constitution, and I'm well known for fighting for people's personal and private property rights. I believe in the 2 C's, choices and consequences. Saying that, as your commissioner, I would listen to the needs of the sheriff and the prosecutor's office and ensure that public safety comes first. Between those running for the District 2 Commissioner position, I believe I bring the most relevant work experience to the table. For over 30 years, I've also worked for Klickitat County and participated on volunteer boards. During that time, I directly worked with the Planning Department, the Auditor's Office, the Treasurer's Office, Economic Development Department, and the County Commissioners. Along with county offices, I worked for the state and federal agencies and our state and federal elected officials. I still maintain those contacts and good relationships, and if I have a problem or a question, I can pick up the phone and I know who I can call. I have a working knowledge of our county budgets, which operate entirely different than private industry budgets. I've managed multi-million-dollar projects, grants, budgets at a county level. I've written county ordinances, county resolutions, and I have authored successful state legislation. For the past 10 years, I've served as a Klickitat County Planning Commissioner. Today, because of my past work history, I'm ready to hit the ground running as your commissioner with a working knowledge of the county's 26 departments and 12 elected officials with 250 plus employees. I love our county and its people. I appreciate our way of life, and I believe in government at the local level is at its best. I sincerely want to represent the people of Klickitat County as the next District 2 County Commissioner. Thank you.
Okay, I have two questions, and they're both biggies, but I'm going to do just one at a time for all four of you, so a little more usage there. But the first one is about industrial solar arrays. What will you do to stop or not stop or control industrial solar in the county? Will you enact ordinances to protect the citizens and the environment?
Industrial solar is a subject I've been working on. I've been investigating, learning. There's a lot of answers I have to find yet. There isn't a real open forum on industrial solar yet. The state has passed some RCWs that allow solar to come in, and they're requiring our county to move forward to come into the new green world. And it's probably necessary, but I believe in good planning. I'm on planning commission, and that's what I'd like to see with our industrial solar and our energy overlay. I'd like to see that come back to the planning commission and have a new look where solar belongs, how big, how wide, how deep. With that, I can say I've also worked on a pump storage process recently, and that's an open and transparent project. I really appreciate that project. I think it's going to be a good one. If you don't know about that project, you should ask the PUD, the county, get involved with that one. It's going to bring a lot of jobs to Klickitat County, a lot of revenue to Klickitat County, and it can prove what it's doing, and I want to see that from the solar too.
Could you repeat the question again?
Yeah, it has to do with the industrial solar. What would you do to stop or not stop and control industrial solar in the county? Will you enact ordinances to protect citizens and the environment?
Well, first of all, the Klickitat County Comprehensive Plan absolutely needs to be updated. It needs to be updated on a biannual basis, just like all documentation within Klickitat County needs to be updated and brought into the modern era, if you will, because how legislation is passed in Olympia to keep the county on track in a timely manner. Industrial solar, it has its place. The energy overlays have their place. There needs to be a full top to bottom, side to side review on this, but there's also two ways to skin a cat. And one of the first things that I believe in is that every resident and residents in Klickitat County should have solar on their residences, so that each individual homeowner can benefit from the natural resource that is so abundant in this county. That, at that particular point, that would scale down large-scale solar. It is coming. I mean, large-scale solar is coming, period. Because, like Lori said, the state is passing legislation, and in some cases forcing it down counties' throats, which leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouth. So.
Industrial solar. So, yeah, it's coming to Washington State. The plan going on here at Goldendale is one that I'm just not a fan of. It's bad for the environment. The batteries going in, the panels going in. Yeah, probably good for tax reasons, but it's a nice order. What, with the power rates around here, how much free power is everybody getting from the solar panels that are gonna go in? Exactly, 0. Unless the state or something would work out to where Clickitat County is gonna get a big break on their power rates, then there's not a whole lot of point in putting that out there just so we can sell the power off to some other state. Yeah, I definitely like the idea of putting solar panels at houses, but what's the incentive that the state offers that? From what I know, when you buy the solar panels, you get tax-free, or you don't pay sales tax on the equipment. Some other states you get a tax refund. Maybe we could look into getting more tax refunds to put those solar panels up. And that'll just give a little more incentive. So we're gonna have to, put in up a couple committees to check out to see if it's gonna be viable for Clickitat County to even put up that large of a solar panel farm out there. To see if it's worth it for our county to begin with. All right, that's all I got, guys.
What a hot topic, huh? Okay. My opinion on solar, I'm going to throw this out, which it really doesn't matter a whole lot because I'm not a big fan of solar power. It's very inefficient, very costly. However, in this county, we have already put in place programs to put solar farms in. We have 1,700 acres in Bickleton right now, and there are plans to put solar in the Goldendale area. My approach would be, basically after the first year, is figure out what we can do to negotiate, to find the best places for them, to tax them at the best rate we can. What can we do for Clickitat County to benefit Clickitat County from these solar farms? The truth is we can't stop it. We can regulate what happens down the road with new regulations, but there's already regulations in place to bring solar here. So there's nothing we can do about that other than try and negotiate the best for Clickitat County. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Backwards. This one has to do with something that a lot of us think about as we're getting older and our loved ones are getting older and we're seeing our children struggle in different ways. What would your plans be to address the long inadequate service for assisted living needs in Clickitat County? We currently have 0 beds for assisted living in Clickitat County. And to help with elder care, and the need for childcare services, which is similarly really struggling in the county.
Well, I guess part of it is in my opinion because I don't know all the information about that. But in my opinion, we take care of our children. Until they're 18, we have to find some way to take care of them. I don't have a solution. The elderly, we have to take care of them. Again, I don't have a solution. We need to come up with something, and I know this sounds like rhetoric, and I hate that, it sounds like a politician. But I understand that the state has some programs that they're working on. As a county, we have to be able to fund it, and then find somebody to bring it in. And at this point, I don't know who or what is working on those programs. I'd love to give you a great answer. The fact is, I don't know you right now. I would look that up. I would find that out. That actually is fairly important to me because we do need to take care of our youth and our elderly. Those ones in the middle need to get a job.
That last line was the best one that I had. So yeah, for the elderly, we need to build homes for the elderly to be taken care of, and we need to bring that's gonna take money, and it's gonna take time to do so. You can't hear me, is that better? Oh yeah, I can hear me better too. So, with that training, we'll be able to take care of everybody that needs it. For the childcare, yeah, we need to find, think about that. That might be up to the employers to offer childcare to their employees, and so the people can go back to work. That might be an incentive to get people to get to work right now. And if not, there could be options to find state or local funding to open child care centers to enable people to go back to work. All right, that's all I have for that subject.
Yes, thank you. This is the perfect opportunity where you go to the private sector. You go to the private sector, you go to the city of White Salmon as an example, you go to Klickitat County, you go to the Washington State, you start tapping some of the Washington State healthcare situations that we've got, as well as the feds, in combination with one of the big people like Providence, okay? This is where getting people to the table and sitting them down and having a conversation with them, asking them what they're willing to do, and just exactly how far they can go. Back and forth. Let's negotiate. Let's get it done. It's exactly the same thing when it comes to childcare, because there is actually a component within the education system in the state of Washington that will provide some funds, but that it generally lends towards the feds, okay? And we need to be reactivating these situations so that we can get people back to work who are not saddled with nonstop child care, who can get wives and husbands back out into the workforce. I mean, I've had these struggles my entire campaign because it's delay with everything that you order. Partnerships, negotiations, talking to people, putting it out there, asking them what they're willing to do. The nearest single hospice bed to 98620 is in Portland. And that is unacceptable. Thank you.
We're going to burn through your white sun with us.
It's on the Grange.
I'm really excited about this question. There's a lot of good things that go on in Klickitat County, and sometimes we don't hear about them all. And when David decided to retire, he came to me last October. We had some long talks, and he had some heart desire project that he's in the middle of. And when he retires, he wanted to make sure that those would continue on and come to fruition. One of those is a new senior service center that is in White Salmon. The county has already purchased the property. We're within just a little bit of the funding to start that project. And it's going to be a full-service facility where your elder can go in at an age where they have like an apartment with some staff that come by and help and check on them, maybe along with that. And as they transition and need more care, they move into the next facility that's on the property that becomes more like a hospital-type situation, even down to the point that they get to stay there at that location and have a hospice service for the end of time. So we're not going to have to send people out of our county any longer. And that really was something David Sauter worked hard on. And I want to see that come to be. And then in my heart's desire, I want a second one up here at Goldendale. Our county's too big, it's too far away, we need 2 facilities in our county. And I would work hard to make that happen. For childcare, I know when we transitioned, we transitioned to the new building, there was one of the buildings that was slated to go into childcare, and there was someone working on a grant. I have to say, I'm not sure where we're at on that. I can check on that if anybody's interested. But I think that's going to at least have a childcare program here. Our comp plan is going to be updated starting this fall. It's a 50-year plan, all communities will be involved, and we can certainly have them think about childcare in that comp plan.
Now we get our 2-minute summaries, so we'll start with Lori.
Part of my summary was on the comp plan. That's a very important document, and you all should keep an eye out for that. That's going to entail a lot of volunteer times at night on committees and stuff to let the county know what your community needs. Because we will be involving every rural area, every community, and we need to hear what you want to see in Clickitat County for the next 50 years. And that'll drive how we run our county. Going back to solar, we can do some things, even though it is slated to come to Clickitat County. We still can revise some of our environmental documents, some of our environmental regulations, and some of our environmental reviews. And if we can work with the county right now, we can make those happen and make it more equitable for everybody, let everybody's voice get heard in this process. I also have a really strong desire to see the Economic Development Department get more involved in bringing in more jobs and working on affordable housing. That's something that we kind of skim around and over. We tend to bring in big entities in Zitsu and the other tech companies, but I would like to see our Economic Development Board talk to each community. What can we put in each community? Maybe it's only 10 jobs, maybe it's 5 jobs, but small communities, that would really help.
In closing, I want to thank everybody for being here. I would like to thank everybody from the campaign trail. There's a lot of energy out here this year, and people are shopping, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing that the voters are shopping, because there are some differences. Okay, one of the differences is I've actually managed a team of people that extends beyond what the current employee number is in Clickitat County, in a single state. Managed budgets, the size of what Clickitat County's budgets are. But in closing, I want to say a couple of things, and that is that I love this county, and I love my neighbors, and I love the work that gets done here. And I want to see everybody in Clickitat County succeed. I want everybody to be a winner. And I am here to work for you, the voter, and the taxpayer. That's how much I believe in Clickitat County. Okay? Hard-working, bootstrapping people live in this county. Each and every one of us is dedicated to a quality of life that we don't want to evaporate. That's why I'm running in this race. Thank you again. Thank you, volunteers. I really appreciate it. Have a great evening.
Okay, so don't want to copy William there, so I'm not going to. It was pretty much what he said. I want to work for everybody in the county. I'm not, like I said before, I'm not a politician. So I'll just leave it at, I thank everybody for their time. Thank you for everybody listening to me stammer over myself over and over and over again. All right, you guys have a good night.
Okay, I'm going to start this by saying I am not a politician. What I am is one of your local people that works in this community, lives in this community. I've had some concerns, and that's why I'm involved. I'm going to be a representative of the people, not a politician. As I go in, I have no agenda. I really don't. I don't represent the established government. I don't represent big business. I don't represent the state or the federal government. I represent the people. We need to find a way to have all of the people in this county represented in their voice. And I don't care if you have an R, a D, an I behind your name. It doesn't really matter, because when you're an elected official, you should represent everybody. What I bring to this position, I've got a strong background in business, and that includes my abilities with budget management, negotiation, and employee management. This is a job. You're stepping into a job. Not one person up here has been a county commissioner before, so everybody, it will be new. How do you approach it? My approach to this position is with honesty, integrity, some common sense, which I would love to have. I've got a moral compass, okay? I know what's right and wrong. I do what's right. I've got intestinal fortitude and strength, and I've got the strength to stand up to those people that want to do harm to Clickitat County. What I want to do is help the people of this county. That's why I'm running. Thank you.
Okay, next we move to the county sheriff. I've never done this for a sheriff.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay, can you see me?
Yes.
That's the main thing. It's going to be an interesting election. First thing I want to say, I want to thank the Grange, the state Grange, because I was given the 2022 Grange Award for Outstanding Law Enforcement Officer of the Year. So, thank you very much. I want to get that out there so I don't forget it. Most of you know me. I'm Bob Saunders. Most of you know me. And I hope you know me as a constitutional sheriff. And I've proven myself as a constitutional sheriff. I've stood up against the governor, stood up against Garland, U.S. Attorney, who wanted the FBI to join up with the local authorities and spy on parents in our school. I sent him a letter, told him to keep the FBI out of our county. Period. We are not going to be run by the FBI, the big law. And I might add, I'm a graduate in 1983 of the FBI National Academy. So I'm familiar with the FBI. But what I'm saying here, when people run for office, they'll say a lot of things. They'll say how they take the oath of office, and they'll stick up for your constitutional rights and liberties, your God-given rights. But I'm here standing in front of you saying that I have done that. I have proven to you that I will stand up for your rights, and you give me another 4 years in office, I'll continue standing up for your God-given rights and liberties. Because that's when government becomes the bad guy. That's the job of the sheriff. Not to say, well, RCW says this, and we're going to enforce it whether it violates your damn rights or not. And believe me, when a law is passed by the state legislature or Congress that conflicts with the Constitution, it's an invalid law, and the sheriff should not enforce it, period. Now, I put on the chairs here, you see that pamphlet, Constitution. I want you to, if you don't have one, please take it. Because that, if the government was to follow the Constitution, we would not be in the mess we're in today, period. And we got bad government out there that wants to take away your rights turn this country into a socialist country, and but they're not going to do it because they got to take all of our guns away first, right? All right. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. My name is Clifford. I'm running for county sheriff, and I'd like to thank the Grange and everybody that showed up today. I'm excited. This is a pretty big crowd. I grew up in Vancouver and moved out to Clerk County when I was a young man. I graduated from Columbia High School in White Salmon along with my wife. I also raised 4 kids in this county. 3 of them are adults now, one's still in high school, so they're doing all great. And I started off working after high school down at the SDS lumber mill and going to school at night, and I was hired by the Benjamin Samuel Police Department in 2003 as a patrol officer. In 2006, I moved over to the Skamania County Sheriff's Office under Sheriff Dave Brown. But I continued living in Clickitat County, lived here most of my adult life. And in 2018, I was chosen to be patrol sergeant. Through those years, I've become an evidence technician, also a search and rescue coordinator. I've done tons of community service with the school, coached basketball teams, helped FFA. My 2 daughters were in FFA as well. In 2021, Sheriff Songer decided that he was going to retire. And I was contacted by my law enforcement friends in Clickitat County and in Skamania County, and they asked me to run for county sheriff. So I thought about it for many months. I contacted a lot of people. I was contacted by a lot of people, and they asked me, we want to change, we want to move Clickitat County forward. And after consulting with my family and my friends in my law enforcement circle, I decided to run for county sheriff. I'm closing on my 19th year in law enforcement, and I have a passion for search and rescue, and I have a passion for providing community service to the citizens of Clickitat County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clifford. The first question here is for you. What steps will you take to improve the sheriff's department? What's your plan?
I think the #1 priority is training. I felt like I've been a benefit of lots of training over my career, and lately FBI LEADA Academy and the First Line Supervisor, Command, and Executive Leadership classes. And I think that all deputies should be trained in a leadership position, because when they go out to any scene, everybody looks to them, and they're the leader until a supervisor or a senior deputy shows up. I think training, the state is requiring mental health training for deputies and officers, because most often we are coming into contact with people with mental health crisis. And though we are not mental health counselors, we have to be there and be involved in the family or with that person's life at that moment. We have to have de-escalation before we can use force. That's a mandate. And that's in the law. And we have to attempt de-escalation before we can use any force. And that is very important, especially someone for going through mental crisis. Thank you.
Sheriff Bob, I think I'll just take the same question to you, but you've been in the position for a while, and I'm sure you have some aspirations for taking it to the next level. What's your plan going forward?
Thank you. I just point out to Mr. Clifford, we do all that stuff now. Absolutely. Our officers required increased training and de-escalation. So we do all that stuff. We put all that training. Training is a top priority. It's absolutely correct. And it continues because it minimizes liability and it can save lives. So training is very important. What I want to do next, if you folks allow me to be your chair for another 4 years, I want to continue to build on our successes. I opened the West End office over in White Salmon when I took office in 2015. By the way, I gave him a special deputy's commission back then. But anyway, I want to continue to hold that operation so the folks on the west side are able to attend when they need law enforcement business. I want to start a cadet program, law enforcement for the young people, youth, because I think that's very important to get our youth involved in community service and learn about law enforcement and what that brings to our community. Really, when you get right down to it, community policing is a top-notch avenue you need to go, and that's where I'll continue to go if you make me your next sheriff. And, of course, the top priority is go after drug traffickers. I believe that is a cancer in our society, and we need to fight that with all of our strength and go after these far left-wing legislators that want to legalize drugs, because basically that's what they've done. You realize we can't even arrest a person for possession of meth or heroin? We got to take the heroin, put it in evidence, plug it into the system, and give him a counseling card, and he walks away. So it's bad. It's really bad. The legislature, okay, I'll shut it off.
Thank you, Sheriff Bob. The next one here's for you.
Okay, we're seeing more homelessness in Goldendale. It's really sad, and it's probably going to get worse with the economy the way it is. What is the Sheriff's Office response to homelessness and keeping us all safe?
That is an excellent question. First of all, is a homeless because the person is really down and out, or somebody's squatting on your property? In my opinion, they're squatting on your property that's trespassed. They either leave or they go to jail. One of the two. Now, if they're really down and out, then there's avenues we can take to try to get them assistance. But really, where that change comes is from the very legislators, the far left, that put all these restrictions on law enforcement. That's where they need to address that as well. And I'm here to tell you, Gina Mossberger is an outstanding legislator, and she's had a battle with the far left constantly. And I just wish we had control over the legislature. But Gina and people like her, I'll guarantee you we'd be living in a different community and certainly loving what we're seeing. And well, there's no easy answers to it. But you take a drive down to Vancouver or Portland, and it's just unbelievable. And if you think about it, most of this has occurred in Seattle, Portland. They are run by far left mind thinkers that don't really, in my opinion, have much of a mind, because they really don't care about you or your family or your safety, and they want to handcuff or defund the police. That is completely stupid. And anyway, well, you guys know where I stand. I haven't made it a secret. Thank you.
Bob. The next one's for you, Eric. Do you believe it is important to have accountability as elected officials? If so, who is the sheriff accountable to?
I absolutely do, and they're accountable to the citizens that elected them. The accountability is absolutely necessary. You have to be open with the public. You have to be transparent with the public. And I plan to work with the media and have a social media manager so that people can be informed on what the sheriff's doing, what the sheriff's department is, what they are actively engaged in, you know, day to day, so that the community can be aware, the community can provide tips, because the ultimate goal of the sheriff's office is to protect the public. And when there's criminal activity out there, our job is to prevent that and make that go away, whether that's for the arrest, deterrence, or any other issue that can. But besides providing, but be out in the community. I love public service, so I like to go out to the schools. I like the deputies to go out to the schools so that the kids can be involved with law enforcement officers, and they can be available, and they can feel like they can talk to the police and not be afraid of them like they normally are.
Okay, one more question. The same question for Sheriff Bob. Do you believe it is important to have accountability as elected officials? And if so, who is the sheriff accountable?
That's a good question, and I'll put it this way. As your sheriff, I hold my employees accountable. I try to be fair and build morale within the agency, but if I have an employee that oversteps the trustworthiness and the honesty, they're gone. It's that simple. As far as elected officials, they're not above the law, including myself. If I get a report of a crime committed by an elected official, it will be investigated. And if there's grounds for probable cause for charges, I will submit it to the county commissioner for charges to be filed. That's accountability. And I think we're pretty transparent with the public. I deal with the media most of the time, and anytime they come to talk to me, I'm more than happy to talk to them. And I have, by the way, an open door policy where if I'm in the office, you come in unannounced, you want to talk to the sheriff, you'll get to talk to the sheriff. Because I work for you, nobody else. Governor's not my boss. County commissioners are not my boss. Believe it or not, even Biden is not my boss. Thank God. Anyway, the only people that are my boss is you, the citizens that elect me to office.
Okay, let's do a two-minute wrap-up by each candidate. Mr. Clifford, please.
I would like to thank the Grange again for putting this on. I love public service. I've been doing it most of my life. I want to help the community. It's not always about enforcing laws. It's about being there to help them. Sometimes they call the sheriff's office for any reason. It's not even a law violation. They call the sheriff's office for help. And sometimes you have to step up and make a difference in someone's life. And I really enjoy doing that. And sometimes it has nothing to do about the uniform or the badge. You're just out there helping people. And that's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen in all government. Not just the sheriff's office or law enforcement. When you're out there helping people, they can trust you. They can come to you with issues to involve law enforcement or other issues. I like it. If I can't answer them, if I can't help them, I can point them in the right direction. And so, community service, public service is what I'm about. Now, if the community in this county decides to elect me as sheriff, I look forward to serving all citizens of Clickitat County for the next 4 years and possibly further. Thank you.
Sheriff, you got a 2-minute wrap up, please?
Well, anybody that knows me, it's hard to do it in 2 minutes. I would encourage you to look at the voter pamphlet. And Mr. Clifford is a nice guy. There's no doubt about it, and I hear good things about him. But I'm asking you to look at the voter pamphlet. I've got over 50 years in law enforcement. 22 of those years is in top management positions. Police chief in Elko, Nevada. Undersheriff, Clark County for 7.5 years. 20.5 years with the department entire. I've got a master's degree in criminal justice. Graduated of the FBI National Academy, graduated of the Washington State Academy, and graduated of the Nevada State Academy. I have a lot of law enforcement behind me, and experience and training. You know, I've heard the rumor, believe it or not, Songer's too damn old to run. You can't have him running for sheriff. My gosh, he's in his 70s. Well, I'll tell you what, you know what that is? That's experience. That is experience. And another thing nice about it, if you think about this, as your sheriff, you re-elect me. I'm not worried about a long career. Right? So I'm apt not to buckle to pressure from other elected officials or the government just to get along so I can be re-elected. So I'm asking for your support, your vote in this upcoming election. Thank you.
Okay, we have another person that's on the ballot that is able to stand up and say hello, Mr. Gallagher. Hello. And then we have 2 positions for the Centerville Precinct Committee Officer, President David West. Hey. And Christopher. Okay, so that brings us to the close. I would like to make one announcement. Okay, the candidate for county PUD position number 2 is my son Doug Miller. Hear about that for years. Okay. My final announcement is Senator Grange will host a candidates night for the general election October 12th at the Centerville Grange at 6:30 in the evening. So put that on your calendars. It'll be a good turnout because every position is down to 2 at that point in time. So that's my final announcement. Yes.
Did you say October 9th at 6:30?
I said October 12th.
Thank you.
October 12th at 6:30. Okay, now by my clock, we're 2 minutes early, 5 minutes early. Yes,
Can we take a picture so we have their name?
you can take, candidates can stay to get your pictures taken if you'd like, and people can meet with the candidates